Well, hey, welcome back to the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything's working. Coming in a little late, I got a little overzealous with a project I was tackling just prior to this, and I'm gonna check to see if it's done now so I can disconnect some of the stuff I have attached to my laptop. Nope, sadly not. But yeah, how are you guys? This segment is all about relaxation. It's a little bit of zen, a little bit of calm before the storm. It's essentially a chance for us to regroup and rekindle our collective social fire from our last stream. I'm just bullshit. Yeah, that's what this is though. But yeah, this should be a fun one. I'm kind of excited for this. How have you been since the last stream, which would have been Brew Wars Live over the weekend? If you didn't have a chance to watch that, I encourage you to check it out. Games are good. I revised the deck I played even more after that. I've been doing nothing but hard focusing on cEDH recently, because I feel like I definitely steered that ship wrong at first. And now the vessel, it's aloft, it's doing well. Aloft? Would that suggest it's in the air? It's like the weather light. Does the weather light fly through the air? Anyways, it's not sinking anymore. As a matter of fact, it's sailing really well. But cEDH is so darn fun. And the kind of things you can do with her are pretty insane, depending on how you spec the deck. But now there is a sub-strategy for storming off with Nyx Bloom Ancient, who happens to be an enchantment. So, of course I had to add that into the deck. But let me know how this is going. Let me know if you can hear me all right, see me all right. Hair up, hair down. I can't. Kind of look like just a mad individual. Had it up a second ago. Put it back up. We're gonna put it back up. Tevesh Spot is one of my favorite partners. Mine too. I mean, when he came out, I didn't initially think too much of him. I'm like, well, 5 CMC is quite a bit. But then when you realize that it's 4 generic, it's actually really not that difficult to accomplish. Woo! Says Trent. Hey, Trent. Good morning, Pat. Wish I could stay for the whole video, but I have a dentist appointment in 30. I'd much rather be here. Damn. Well, Jen, see if the dentist will let you run this while you're getting your teeth drilled on. Or is it just like a routine kind of cleaning situation? That's better. That's better. Here, let's really live this moment together, this whole camera setup. Do you all like the wider angle? Do you like seeing more of the space? Do you like knowing what settings I'm using when I shoot? I mean, I like that you can see more. It's unfortunate that this stuff isn't as well lit. Anyways. But good luck with the dental appointment. I brush 2 to 3 times a day, try to floss more regularly, and use mouthwash. I have dental insurance, but it's been a while, which I know is bad, but there we go. Oh my god, almost too much. Well, let's set it to 40%. How about that? That looks good, right? But yeah, I'm just gonna dick around till everyone shows up. I know a lot of people like to shuffle in late for these. But anyway, yeah, Q&A. How's your day? You asked me about mine. I just got another skateboard in. Still scared shitless skating down hills when there's traffic, which is reasonable, right? I mean, I only began skating again a little under a month ago, but we've been going out and doing it more, and like any opportunity I have to commute locally, I just take the board, sort of force myself into the situation so that I get better. And I haven't fallen or hit a car. Haven't hit a car yet, so fortunate about that. But yeah, I've been wanting a longboard, so I wound up buying a longboard for myself, and it's super, super fun. Really bouncy, nice to carve on, and extremely comfortable, wider than my initial skateboard. Crick, son of Yawgmoth, thoughts? Piece of shit, Jonathan. Piece of shit. I'm just kidding. I fought one. It did lose horribly. There was like one, what happened? It got stacked out like hard, and it sort of just sat there, and it was unfortunate. I can't remember the last time I fought Crick, but I remember that showing was really sad. I felt like the oddly enough, the Yawgmoth Thran Physicians I've seen have been better. I've seen all the mono black legendaries play. I gotta tell you, I'm not keen on mono black because it does falter just depending on the meta, but it's fine. I don't know. If you guys want to see Crick, I guess that's something that can happen in the future. I know a lot of people that swear by it, and that's cool. So, good luck to all of you playing Crick. Crick is fun as fuck, says Trent. You don't play other decks. How do you know? I personally love him, but a lot of people telling me he can never be cEDH. Oh, keep playing him. Again, it really depends on your meta. Like, black, just as a colorway, it's nothing to do with Crick, but it doesn't have answers for every problem. Unlike most of the other colors, blue has most of the answers, although most of them, the ones that you see play, are temporary, generally bounce effects. There's a lot of non-land permanent bounce, and in most situations that's enough to let you pop off, where black kind of just suffers from inadequacies so far as removal is concerned. That's the fault of Crick, not even necessarily Crick, but black as a colorway in general. I mean, Tevesh would make an interesting commander by himself. Adding a color is importante, though, since mono black is kind of tough. Thank you, Hama. Yeah, you kind of just chimed in and said exactly what I was thinking. Tevesh is someone I've brewed with a lot, and I like Tevesh a whole bunch. It's easily one of my favorite partner commanders. The utility that Tevesh offers is unlike any other legendary partner. Plus, the draw on this card is kind of insane. You know, if you've ever played my Rograk and Tevesh list, you can mulligan very aggressively to a hand that will always get you Tevesh. Like, if you wanted to get Tevesh turn 1, even if it meant going down the 4, you'll find that hand. It's really crazy how consistent that deck is, and that is due in part to Rograk and the rituals you get from just being in red. But I gotta say, Rakdos is the best colorway for Tevesh. So I guess you could do like a Kiri Line Slinger as well if you want to add in some white, which wouldn't be too dissimilar to what we're doing today. Although I'm going to try to leverage Ardenn for his effect moreover than we would a Kiri, I guess, in a dedicated stacks list. Let me see here. And I play Scarebud. If he's viable, Crick most definitely is. I think, Trent, you're underselling how potent blue is, though. But I can understand what you're saying. Land Chrome Mox calling the weak Tevesh. Yeah, that's one way. Any tips on playing against casual Ur-Dragon? Brian Kober, any tips on playing against casual Ur-Dragon? I don't think I've ever fought Ur-Dragon. That's a good question, though. I can look Ur-Dragon up. The dude who, oh my god. Well, it's a 10/10 Eminence as long as Ur-Dragon is the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you. Huh. Well, it's like, if this is in reference specifically to the Eminence effect, like how do you stop someone who's just going big stomps with a bunch of dragons? And I wonder, are there any sort of like tribal dragon spells? I guess those would be discounted too. I mean, I guess what you would do is like Hellkite Charger the Ur-Dragon out, and then whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. That's tough. It's tough. I mean, outside of like, I guess what this is leveraging is the combat step. So you could do like a Ghostly Prison and just have it sent someone else's way. It really depends on your color. It really depends on what you're worried about here. If it's just the cost reduction, there's really nothing you can do against Eminence. Was Eminence a mistake? Maybe. Maybe. But it's okay here. It's not too damning. You know, dragons aren't too horrific. I guess I would just grip onto those board wipes. Make sure you leverage your politics well. Like, get those dragons to swing elsewhere, either via utilities on the field or just sort of guiding other people's threat assessment. You can generally steer the conversation of where the hits should lie if you're savvy enough. But something like this, like if you're clearly leveraging your health for some advantage, it's reasonable that people attack you. In a casual setting, I'm not really sure what that translates into. Does it mean like you just pop off with Sylvan Library that much more? Or are you really, you know, leveraging that Treasonous Ogre to do stuff on your turn? I don't know. But I guess those are my tips. try to get those dragons to swing other way, but it really depends on what is going on with the Dragon that's so, you know, damning. Hey Pat, this is my first one. Big fan though. Giannis I don't want to butcher your name, and I almost did. Giannis, thanks for joining. These are super fun. This is really like, this is my one break during the week. This is like a fun period of time for me during the week. So I'm glad you can be here for it. These are very fun to do. I'm just looking over some of these dragons that came up when I looked up Dragon. Here, I'll put that away. Okay. Hello, looking forward to a build with another one of my favorite commanders. I love Ardenn, and I partnered him with Akiri Lineslinger. Yeah, I mean, Akiri is just so darn good. Really, grossly underrated. Her effect, she does a lot of damage. I don't think people realize she does a lot of damage as the game progresses, particularly if you have an artifact-centric deck, which is probably what you're going to be relying on with Akiri and in Boros, because we don't have too many advantages in red and white, or ways to get ahead so far as like card quality is concerned. Red is getting a little bit better at it, white is not so much. So you're probably relying on artifact-based stacks to some extent, and obviously you're probably going to make this a Voltron build if your other partner was Ardenn. So you've got all the artifacts to just make that deck thrive. Totally agree. I love Akiri though. I'd love to do another build with Akiri. I bought a handful, when Commander Legends came out, I bought a handful of partners that I just never owned, because I wanted to make decks for them, and Akiri's one of them. I have her sitting double sleeved, like ready to go into a deck, or man a deck at some point. I just haven't gotten to that point. Let's see here. Hi, how's it going? Hunter, it's going well. It's going really well. I'm really stoked. Again, I'm really stoked for today. If you guys follow the link in the description, you'll see that there is like I would say a full-fledged deck, but today's gonna be a little different, and we'll get into it when we get into it. But this particular deck tech is one I've been working on for several months, and this is just another iteration of the same kind of deck I've been wanting to make with you guys. And I'm just really stoked for this one, because it's one I feel like will be very successful at doing the Voltron thing. I hope I'm right. And I even worked in a combo specifically for one of my favorite creatures. This was really just a glorified excuse to make a deck for Boonweaver Giant. Will we see skateboard videos on the channel, Sarah? If you want, I'm not great at it. I want to get to the point where I can very comfortably and very casually stroll through urban and metropolitan areas on my skateboard. And I've got one skateboard with a kicktail, so my goal with that was, and I damaged the heck out of this dinghy. I bought 2 Lanyard skateboards. One, because I really respect their content here on YouTube. 2, because I've heard a lot of good word about their product, so I bought 2 of them. I bought a dinghy and I bought a battle axe, is what the other one's called, 38 inches long. Your actual like usable foot space is a little different, but the board is about that long. It's like modeled after a pintail design. So it doesn't have a kicktail. So it's just a longboard cruiser. That's all there is to it. I don't know if that's something you want. I was contemplating using the boards, or even getting like a one wheel or something to do some interesting gimbal shots for a different group I shoot for. And if that was something of interest here, I do want to sort of transition the channel come November into a different beast, not only for my own personal health and enjoyment, but because I think it would be fun to do. I don't think skateboarding would be something I incorporated. I think that maybe is a little too far-flung from like the game media that we've been doing on this channel. But that would be kind of dope to do and refreshing for me. Thanks for the feedback, chat. Hey Pat, how long have you been playing guitar, and what's your favorite style to play? I don't really have a favorite style. I feel like I do a lot of chicken picking. I do a lot of finger picking. And my favorite guitar isn't over here, not that that's what you asked. But my favorite guitar is a Taylor acoustic. I've got a GC7 in the other room. It's great. One of the tuning pegs is a little messed up. There's like a spacer missing. It's very weird. It just broke. It's something to do with the temperature changes, frequent temperature changes here. But I mostly play acoustic. So I guess folk. I like folk acoustic. Alright, got here in the beginning. Yay, Ripkiss. Chainer combo is decent, and something we could incorporate here, I guess. Here, I'm going to scroll down because I'm fairly behind. If you casually fight Ur-Dragon, do you do it with Anzuran runes? I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming this advice is sound, so Dean, thank you for that. Is Kenrith pod too slow? Kenrith's fine. I know a lot of people that play Kenrith. I think anything in 5 colors is generally going to have some advantage, just by way of you have every single color and every single color pairing card, like staple, at your disposal. So it's going to do decent just by and by. But I don't know. I've seen so many different takes on Kenrith. I think the general strategy is to just go infinite and win the game. Infinite mana, that is. Jacob, I run Ardenn Tevesh list. It's fun. I've only won twice, but it was a blast. Okay. What are your thoughts on the price of cEDH cards in the large amount that tends to keep players from playing? What are my thoughts on cEDH cards in the large amount that... So, you guys, I mean, I don't know. This is it. I've sold through a bunch of reserve list cards, and I've got just a bunch of like staples I'm trying to sell at this point. I don't think much of it at all. I've only kept so many actual reserve list cards that were in my own collection, and I do happen to buy, I guess, expensive cards. Like I need to buy a Crater. This is weird to say. I need to buy a Crater Hoof Behemoth. I'm pretty sure, and you know, I have some disposable income, so it's not a problem for me. But that's not even a big expense. Like, a big expense in my mind is spending, like, over $100. What are they now? Like, I remember buying Mana Crypt for $180, and that was, like, a huge deal. This was before it got reprinted a lot. But I remember spending $180 on Mana Crypt, and that was, like, I had to save. I didn't want to... I can't just do that monthly. I can't just go on a whim and just buy whatever the heck I want. But the thing I've gotten into recently is... proxying the heck out of everything. So here are my personal thoughts. If you want to play this game, some proxy. This is Sithis color proxied before I wound up like getting paper proxies for Sithis. But I enjoy this deck so much that I wanted to do it up, right? I wound up selling my Guy's Cradle a pretty depreciated rate to one of our Discordians, right? There's plenty of people that want to own these cards, but not me. So, I go with the Enchantress foil. That's kind of expensive. Proxied that. It says proxy on the front. What I recommend if you do proxies, just make sure it says proxy on the back too. So it's fairly obvious, like you're not trying to cheat anyone. And if you're just playing kitchen table Magic or locally and no one cares, then you know what's interesting? Like more than 70% of this deck is proxied, right? Like more than 70% of this deck is proxied. It's changing now. Like I'm adding, this is like an altered Grasp of Fate that I just had lying around, so that's in there. But then I even proxied Alseid of Life Bounty. Does this need to be proxied? Probably not. But it was just easier for me to just get them all at the same time. But yeah, it cost me maybe, I want to say like 30 bucks. Do I feel bad? Do I feel like I've cheated my father, MTG, Hasbro? Not really. I feel like I think that the prices are kind of absurd right now, and if you're playing a casual format, which Commander is, you should feel no responsibility to pay an absurd amount of money to make a actual tangible deck of a mixture of like what you'll see a lot of reserve list cards in the deck today and just expensive staples that are being printed now. Like it sucks for people that need to own copies of Ragavan at the moment, right? And if you're going to play in a competitive setting, yes, you should own the actual card. But if you're just playing kitchen table for fun, and again, this is a Commander channel, proxy them, like I did. That's what I think. I have no real thoughts on the cEDH setting as a whole so far as like the price barrier is concerned, because there is no barrier. I think the barrier is up here for a lot of people. A lot of folks have this sort of stigma against proxying cards, as if they're cheating themselves, the players around them, the company, the brand that makes the cards, and you know, you can feel bad about it. Maybe you want to own an actual copy and then you proxy the rest, right? That was sort of my philosophy for a while. I owned everything, but I sold all my dual lands, I sold my Chains of Mephistopheles, I sold my Guy's Cradle, Sarah Sanctum, all the stuff I just showed you from Sithis. I sold a bunch of that stuff. The only deck that's authentic is my Oswald. Like I have my Lion's Eye Diamond in there, my Grim Monolith in there, it's usually reserve list cards that are several hundreds of dollars. I kept that one authentic because it was just something for me to enjoy, and I like collecting things. But if you're trying to play the game, right, outside of it being a TCG, just get over that mental hurdle and thinking that there's a price barrier, because there's not. If your group's okay with you proxying cards, proxy the cards and just play the game the way it's meant to be played. If you want to play it at its height with the most competitive cards, just proxy it up. Seriously. Don't let anything get in the way of you enjoying this game the way it should be enjoyed. Hope that helped. Okay. Awesome advice. Board wipes might be the answer. Thanks, Pat. Love the content. Thanks. Hey, dude. Hope you're doing well today. Jack, I'm A-okay. Noah Murtha says, Ardenn is one I've been looking at for a while, but I play heavy stacks lists, usually win con lists, so Ardenn is a weird one, unfortunately. I feel like, let me see here. I'm going to skip all the way down, though. Second channel, Pat, After Hours. Yeah, I'm really just chilling right now. We could start the video at any point. If you guys want to start talking about the deck, we can. Sorry, I'm just having a nice casual afternoon with you guys. 4 p.m. evening. When does evening officially hit? Tell me. Ren in 7 is almost $40 because of standard, and I can shove it in Muldrotha. Yeah, I mean, like, I would wait, I guess until it rotates out of standard, it becomes less relevant, or whatever happens. Maybe it gets banned or something, right? I remember Ali's brother, Jared, like, he bought, I think he was playing Modern or Standard, and the Looter Scooter, the Copter, Smuggler's Copter, like, he bought a full set of those, and they were very expensive, and, like, the next week they were banned. Super feel bads because the price of that card dropped drastically, and you don't want to be caught in that situation, right? But he wanted to play locally, and he wanted to have the actual cards, but that sucks, you know? That really sucks. Let me see here. Man, I've been on a Chroma Kamal for a while. Love it. Ironic that most casual players are against proxies, but competitive players are for them. Rip, because I think that's predominantly to do with the fact that, you know, the prices do get up there, and if you want to play competitively, the truth of the matter is, like, your deck might need a Survival of the Fittest. Your deck might need a Grim Monolith if it's going to be high functioning. In a lot of these cases, those cards are very expensive, right? And again, even just Mana Crypt, it's very expensive. Okay. 6 p.m. in the evening. 6 p.m. is evening in my opinion. Thank you. Was talking about the second channel for skateboarding. Whatever you feel like doing that day. That would be kind of cool. Like, I'm not really into vlogs. Like, I'll watch vlogs occasionally. It depends on the content creator, but I'm not really into providing. Maybe I would. I'm actually planning on buying, I want to buy a Panasonic GH, not 6, but the GH Mark II when that comes out. And I would like a fleet of 3 of them, but they're a couple grand each, right? I think they're going to come out at $1,600. But what's cool about them is that you can actually, you like my jalapeno pepper? We bought a spice rack recently. It came with stickers, and there's this glorious misprint on one of the stickers. But what's cool about the GH5 Mark II, new processor, new sensor or old sensor? I think it's the old sensor. It doesn't matter. It has all the recording capabilities you want. It has the ability to tether to your phone's Wi-Fi and or Ethernet connection and stream. So you can do direct streaming from your GH5 Mark II and presumably GH6. So that would be a really cool feature to have, and maybe vlogging would be a thing. But it would be cool to do. If you just want to see me falling my ass skateboarding, that could be a thing. I've been good about not falling, but I gotta tell you, like, bombing some of these hills near me, so terrifying. It's super terrifying because I don't know how to slide out my board yet and stop myself that way. It's really just a matter of, like, it not going blazingly fast and then me running off the front of my board. Let me see here. I didn't buy it. I was talking about how I opened one. Oh, might have missed that. PSA, 10 misprints stickers equals 10K. What? Misprint stickers equals 10K. I think a problem about the reserve list cards is the insane amount of money you play with. 20K decks. Oh, that's sort of my big thing with Oswald too. Like, I gotta tell you, it's nerve-wracking. Like, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying myself. Like, when you see me play my decks on the channel and I'm drinking booze and I'm sitting my glass right next to it, I know a lot of audience freaks out, but It's my shit. Like, I don't care. If I spill, a Delirium Tremens on my Oswald deck, then I've spilled really nice beer on my Oswald deck, and that's fine. It's gonna have to be, right? But it's my stuff. I just don't. I'm gonna try to care less about it. I used to be super uptight about my things, and I think that comes from a standpoint of being very poor and wanting to like take care of the things you do possess. But then there needs to be a certain level or a certain degree of detachment too, because I've got enough anxieties and enough stress in my day-to-day life that I think that my cards should be something I just enjoy and play with, and less so concern myself about. But I do double sleeve them with like the perfect sleeves, and even if I've had like a spill before, and none of the moisture actually got to the actual card, although they've gotten into the sleeves. So, it's so I do take care of them, but I'm trying to let that go. But I agree with you though. Like if you're playing out at an event and you just had an expensive deck of cards, you certainly don't want that deck of cards to be stolen, or I don't know. They're just, not even just being stolen. Sometimes there'd be a situation where you like get Gilded Draked or something, and maybe they forget to give you your card back, and it could just be an honest mistake. And you're like, oh shit, like I just lost, X creature. You just had that special Elish Norn, the Phyrexian Elish Norn or whatever, and you're like, where it's not in my deck anymore. And stuff like that happens, right? So hopefully you know who that person was in those situations. But otherwise, I can see that being an issue, like a little bit of a deterrent. Especially with some of these, mostly decks that have blue, like when there's a Time Twister in there, those decks get really expensive. I think it's time to start. We're just sticking around. I like this. I could talk for hours. I do often, but that can be a different segment. I wanted to bring onto the channel just talking points. It could be about anything, but specifically, at least for folks interested in MTG, it'd be fun to do like a monthly roundup or even like weekly videos, bi-weekly, with Ernesto, Justin, members of the gang, just talking about recent news. That'd be kind of fun. I don't know. And I could field questions from you guys as well when we do that. But I think it's time to start. Before we start officially, Jesus Christ. Okay, Final Cut Pro just saved out. So there's this weird issue. It's not an issue. I have, trying to close out Final Cut Pro. Okay, cool. So there's this thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to deal with it later. Damn it. All right. I just got this company I freelance for just sent me a storage device to put all of the project files I've been working on for them on it. But it's been months and months of just projects, so I was trying to save all that stuff before going live, and I didn't happen. So they were like 50% of the way through, and now they're 50%. They're done. But now I just have all this stuff in front of me, so we'll make it work. Okay. Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, and this is Cold Brew, where I take you from start to finish on a brand new deck. Now, that's not entirely true this time around, because this is a list I've been working on for some time, and numerous iterations, as I mentioned off the bat during the very long show before the show. This is a deck I absolutely love and been wanting to perfect, and new cards come out with every subsequent set, commander set and or just regular standard set. And there's been a bunch of new goodies for this list. So today, what we're gonna do is look at a deck that is somewhat of a passion project for me. I actually intend to dissolve my Ardenn Tevesh build to make Ardenn and Tevesh. And this is one of my favorite color pairings in the game. I love black, I love white. In MTG setting, I think that they're both very interesting support colors, but when they're put together, they're brilliant. So black has all of the complete tutor suite you would ever want. The best tutors in the game, really. Obviously, excellent supplemental cards like Necropotence and Ad Nauseam and PETA most recently. But white's got a whole slew of interesting stacks pieces, obviously, in its own color, but also plays very well with artifacts and has a handful of tutors for those artifacts. Namely Enlightened Tutor, but there are some oddities that you can put in lists these days. But these are two of my favorite colors in Magic, and I've been wanting to play with the Orzhov list. And I mentioned earlier how I've sold all my reserve list cards. That's not entirely true. I did save a hand. I actually bought a dam for this deck. I saved my scrub lands. I bought a Boonweaver Giant foil, of course. You gotta get the foil when you're repping. And I kept my Yawgmoth's Will because I knew I would want to incorporate those cards in this deck. Maybe not Yawgmoth's Will so much, but I can imagine us leveraging it. I believe it's in the deck right now. But the build today is Ardenn and Tevesh. Now, you can actually follow the link in the description to see the deck where it's at. And the difference between this cold brew and our general cold brew is that there's really a deck strategy and full deck laid out in front of you. But what I want to do is discern and sort of tease out what are the best strategies to play for in this list. There's somewhat of a meme win baked into the deck right now, and I'd like to illustrate that for you guys. I think the best avenue of approach for a Boonweaver build is to simply win with something like a Blasting Station. And this will all make sense in due time. But first and foremost, the thing I want to talk about are our head honchos. We have Ardenn, Intrepid Archaeologist. 2 generic, 1 white, legendary creature, core scout, 2/2 body. With the right tools, even the sky is within reach. You go, you uncommon. You go. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of ores and equipment you control to target permanent or player. Now, there's more you can do with the player aspect. Obviously, this really just pertains to curses in the world of MTG, like auras that can attach to players. But there's stuff you can do there. I'm not really necessarily playing for that, but that is a sub-strategy I'd love to speak of with you guys. Like, that is something that we can definitely play for. But for the most part, you're really leveraging Ardenn to sort of suit up your team and go through your turns, getting in some decent combat damage, and also cheating the cost of high CMC equipment attach rates. Right, so I like to go for, with Ardenn, when I build Ardenn personally, pending the color pairing we're in, I like to go for low CMC, like actual cost equipment, and then high equipment cost, attachment cost, because I know I can cheat around that, right? Which is really cool to have in the command zone, especially at 2 generic and 1 white. This passes the Mana Crypt test, as they say, as I say. It's not an actual test, but anytime I evaluate a card, and it's something I spoke of with our Discordians recently, it's efficiency. Like, with X amount of cards in my deck and X amount of particular scenarios, like what my starting hand could be, how many of them allow me to cast said card with efficiency? Like, how can I quickly get this card out of my hand or out of my command zone? It's like the Mana Crypt test. If I have a land and a Mana Crypt, can I cast the spell? And Ardenn, I can. In the example I spoke of on the Discord, it was Dark Tutelage. Absolutely love that card. It passes the Mana Crypt test. There are more scenarios where I can cast that turn 1, as well as Ardenn. And speaking of something you want to put on the field turn 1, we have Tevesh Svat, Doom of Fools. So 4 generic black, legendary planeswalker Svat comes in with 4 loyalty counters, and I feel like I don't probably need to explain this, but I will. +2, create 2/0/1 black thrall creature tokens. This is actually valuable in this particular build, and I'll explain why in just a second. +1, you may sacrifice another creature or a planeswalker. It's a may, right? So a lot of people get this, they mistake this in thinking that you have to target, and then they assume the target, and then they'll jump on top of this activation and destroy a thing, and you're like, well, I may or may not, and I'll just sacrifice this other thing instead because you didn't have to sacrifice your commander or whatever in that instance. Don't jump the gun on Tevesh Svat. It's usually better to just let them draw and then try to kill Tevesh Svat. If you do, draw 2 cards, then draw another card if the sacrifice permanent was a commander. One of my favorite things to do, especially if you're in red, is run the claim the firstborn effects, run the possession effects. Like, there's some blue effects that also do that, but run them, because you're stealing value from your opponents, you're getting draw, and in most cases, if it's a red spell, they'll also have haste, so you can pop off with that Tymna or whatever it is, maybe get a little bit more utility out of it before you kill it to Tevesh. With Tevesh, rather. And lastly, you have the ability to use 10 loyalty and gain control of all commanders. So this means commanders in the command zone, and then obviously commanders in the battlefield. So put all commanders from the command zone onto the battlefield under your control. So any commanders that are on the battlefield, you'll gain, and any that are in the command zone, you'll gain. It's very good effect. And also what's really unique about this is that if you use the -10, Tevesh Svat, if he was at 10, will go to the command zone and come back onto the battlefield. Really good, right? So that was a lot to just regurgitate on you. I feel like we all have a general idea of who these commanders are at this point, but just to refresh your memory, at least the things I find of import when it comes to these two, I want to get out of the way for you. So, the general strategy for this deck, and this is really weird. I'm not saying that this is what you need to do, but this is what I want to do. Let me just paint a picture for you. Let me just paint a picture for you. Do I still have it in the deck? I still got Dread Return? Okay, fine. Let's just say Dread Return. Dread Return's in the deck, and this is something I want to talk about with you guys. Dread Return's in the deck. Flashback, sacrifice 3 creatures. Why am I only mentioning the flashback? You'll understand in a second. So, the large goal here is to build a ridiculous board state, have a bunch of thrall, and then maybe get to some self-mill strategy. And what can that strategy be? Well, it could be Mesmeric Orb. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. With Basalt Monolith, well, what's this do? You can pay 3 to untap it, but it also generates 3 generic. So you can self-mill yourself out. Okay, well, I self-mill my whole library into my graveyard. Okay, so if you do that, I think I even put a Grave Shuffler. This is the tricky bit. So this is clearly a sorcery speed spell. How did I cheat around this? How did I cheat around Dread Return? Give me 1 second. I swear, it's going to make sense. It's going to sound so beautiful. Ignore the Kozilek. Ignore the Kozilek for now. There's a way to cheat around this, like Shallow Grave, whatever. There are other reanimate spells. But let's just say you had 6 Thralls built up, because that's all you've been doing, right? People are hitting Tevesh, it's fine. Let them hit Tevesh. You just want a +2 make Thrall. You're going to Dread Return Boonweaver Giant, right? So you need to get rid of some of those Thralls. You wanted them. Boonweaver Giant comes into the battlefield. You may search your graveyard, hand, or library for an aura card. So what's the aura card we're going to find? In my mind, the thing I really want to do, is get Mantle of the Ancients. So Mantle of the Ancients, for 3 generic double white, enchantment aura, enchant creature you control. When Mantle of the Ancients enters the battlefield, return any number of target aura and or equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Well, this is all generally overkill, but you see where this is going, right? You said you wanted to win with Voltron, right? Is there anything more definitive than literally putting every single aura and equipment you have in your deck on the battlefield and attached to a Boonweaver Giant? I don't think so. I think that's as definitive as it gets. Oh, there's Eldrazi Conscription in here too. Because... And the thing is, you can do like an unmarked grave to bury the Eldrazi Conscription and obviously reanimate the Boonweaver Giant and get this thing out of your grave. Like, if you just don't want to pull into it, you just want to get it out of the way, or you have like a Yawgmoth's Will, and are able to just storm into it, like your rituals into it, yeah, it gets good. I mean, Annihilator 2, maybe it's a keyword you're not familiar with, but whenever that creature attacks, the defending player sacrifices permanents equal to the number, so 2. Really good. Obviously, you want to cheat that out earlier, and there will be other ways to do that. But basically, my main goal here is to do Mantle of the Ancients and then have all of this stuff on our Boonweaver Giant. Now, how do you win with this? Well, with all of the Hate Bears and all of the Thrall and all of the Ardenn, you'll use something like Dragon's Throne of Tarkir. And just bear with me. Bear with me. 4 generic, legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature has defender and 2, tap. Other creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the creature's power. It's like a more complicated Craterhoof. Essentially, it's like a more complicated Craterhoof, but it's a lot of damage. I think when I did the math, Boonweaver was like a 48, something like that. I forget where it lies with the current build, but you can obviously move things around with Ardenn 2 when when the time comes. But Dragon Throne of Tarkir, never going to see use outside of this. Never going to see use. I was like, how can we make a Voltron finisher? How can we make a deck that has a Voltron combo baked in that will win on the spot? Because the main issue I found with Voltron, and you saw it just a little bit with our previous video with gens, like it's difficult because like you could do the damage to knock one person out, but then you never know what the next player is going to do. But if there's a way to just use that sort of Voltron strategy to wipe everyone out in one fell swoop, just bear in mind, count to see if someone has 7 mana and, 1 pip being blue for Cyclonic Rift. But otherwise, you can probably get away with doing this. Now, how quickly you can do this is a different question. And obviously, will you have enough bodies to spread as much love as you want? Again, if we're averaging 48 damage and we manage to do this early on and we have like 2 Thrall and Ardenn and Boonweaver Giant, I think we'll be good. We'll see. But again, that's what we want to test today. Again, I spoke at you for a minute. I'm super curious to just hear your thoughts. Would it be easier to simply go Boonweaver Giant into either Minion's Return or Kaya's Ghost form with a Blasting Station? If you've never seen this, Boonweaver Giant will enter the battlefield, find Kaya's Ghost form. Blasting Station will be on the battlefield or some other similar effect. Basically, Blasting Station says tap, sacrifice a creature, deal 1 damage to target creature. Whenever a creature enters battlefield under your control, you may untap Blasting Station. I don't even think it has to be under your control. That's neither here nor there. Because Boonweaver Giant will die. Kai's Ghost form says, bring it back. Kai's Ghost form's in our grave. Boonweaver says, I'll bring that back, and then you keep doing the thing. Obviously more efficient. And cEDH is all about efficiency. But Voltron, it's about spreading the love. And I couldn't think of a better way to spread the love outside of sitting on a giant throne and giving all of my creatures an equal share of love. Okay. Let's see here. Craterhoof at home. Yeah, Craterhoof legit. Based Dragon Throne. I actually always wanted to see Dragon's Throne broken. It's beautiful. Well, George, I think that this is the way to do it. And Elijah, yeah, totally. This is like a Craterhoof. Finally, more cold brew. Hell yes. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yansu, hi. Dragon Shield Sealables inner sleeves help a bit with the... Yeah, George, that's what I've been using. The Dragon Shield inner fits. You put every aura in your deck and go off, and then you could even move them around with Ardenn if you wanted. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that this is a fun way to do it. And obviously there are instant speed spells. So my main concern here, obviously, and if we go this route, and that's what I want to talk about, if we go this route, if you fail, you're dead. Like, your deck is in your grave. Like, you're out of it, right? You need to win on the swing. So I wouldn't advise the self-mill into this attack unless you really had it, right? So Dread Return is backup, but then you should also have like an Animate Dead in hand. So you'll go Animate Dead, counterspell, okay, Dread Return, do it again. Does this resolve? All right, Boonweaver, all the things, go. Right? That's an ideal world. How does Boonweaver have haste? There's lightning greaves in here. So much shit. Don't worry about it. The haste enable. Don't worry about the effects. We'll work in all the other effects as we go along. But this does work. Is it super effective? I can't say yet. But I mean, I don't know. There's some really cool shit in here. Again, and that's the other thing, like, when you get the thing to go off, you will have a Conqueror's Flail. So I guess even Cyclonic Rift isn't a big deal. Like, if Boonweaver does the thing. So, in my mind, is it right to have a failsafe with Kozilek? It's like, do I really need this? Because I think when you go for this plan, and this is like plan C, C for combat. When you go for plan C, because plan A is just basic stacks out, do War of Attrition, do combat damage. Plan B would be a Kaya's Ghost form, other various enchantment, Boonweaver Blasting, or other damage effects. And plan C is self-mill, get the stuff out. I've got all these bodies, I've done the math, we're gonna kill everything right now. I don't think Kozilek's important for that. I guess the one issue being at this point would be if someone could make you draw yourself out. Like, it would be the only thing. Like, there's a Gaia Reach Sanitarium that's untapped, or someone has a Cephalid Coliseum, or someone just has some effect to make you draw your deck. So maybe Kozilek can be taken out. So I think the first thing we should do here is just talk base strategy. I'd love to pick your brain on whether or not you want to see a Boonweaver throne. So this is named the Dirge of Boonweaver because it's a grave-based strategy. I hope you appreciate that. But it's also just a fun way to be. I was going to call this deck King for a day, initially. Because again, we're dead. We are dead if this fails, somehow. But Boonweaver would totally be a king on the Dragon Throne if this obviously resolves. So, love to hear your thoughts. Is this something that you think is a fun plan C? Yes, we're over 100 cards. I'm conscious of that. Is this a fun way to approach the deck? Is this something you want to do? And should we attempt this with plan A, attrition, plan B, Boonweaver kills, blasting, plan C, all the reanimate stuff, self-mill strategies, bake in one more self-mill strategy outside Mesmeric, Basalt, to the Boonweaver throne, attacky swing thing. Okay. My dream is always bloop, bloop, bloop. My dream is always to put Colossus Throne on, or Colossus Acros that I turn monstrous. That's cool. Could some kind of artifact enchantment reanimation worth it? We'll talk about how late am I? T.Y. Morris. You're a little late, but the general goal of this list is to win with Boonweaver, and we've got all sorts of flavors of Boonweaver. If you go self-mill, a Shuffle Titan is just being a coward. But I would think sooner or later land-based draw effects will be seen more and more due to Thoracle. Maybe. They haven't yet, so I think that the shuffle strategy is just important to have a line to... It's like a scapegoat, but it's not necessary. I think that we should just do the math, and we shouldn't go for it unless we're going for it. And then when we go for it, we win the game, right? But let me see here. If you go self-mill, blah. Praetor's Grasp and Oracle. Yeah, it's just a official backup. But mind you, you do need to spend colored mana for the thing, and it's not like this deck is on LED, right? So you would need to find a way to generate the blue mana. So it would be, God, you'd have to pop off your Yawgmoth's Will and then do the Lotus Petal, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, right? And that would, well, Thassa's Oracle, she's just double blue. So one of those three things, right? So you guys know what Thassa's Oracle is, right? Okay. That is one backup line. I believe Praetor's Grasp is just in here. It could just be in here, but it's not crucial. I think that's the coward's way out. I don't want to win with the Thassa's Oracle. I'm sorry. I've seen it done before. We're going to do something a little bit more interesting. Efficient? It's only really adding in one dead card, in my opinion. Like, the Dragon Throne of Tarkir is really the only oddity in this scenario, but it's actually really not that bad with the Thrall. Like, it's not a bad pairing. Okay. Is Tevesh there only to generate sacrifice fodder general value, or does he bring something else that makes him... How do you mean? Black bodies, and not just for the Dragon Throne of Tarkir. I mean, like, the Diabolic Intents of the world. Anything that cares about a body. Like Ardenn equipping random things. Because sometimes you don't want to put this on a point character. Like, there's enough reason for someone to be killing your Hushbringer or your, whatever hate bear there is. So if I put the Colossus Hammer on a Thrall, you're going to waste your kill spell on a Thrall. Draw. There's no need for added value on draw. I think that I think Tevesh is really fucking good. If you've got kids nearby, I'm sorry that they heard that. But Tevesh is really good. There's no need to smother anything else on top of Tevesh. Tevesh is like the icing on the cake, and it's your favorite cake. Oh, and it's your birthday. And the waitress forgot your drinks earlier, so she actually comped the whole fucking meal. That's what Tevesh is. You don't need to think too hard about making Tevesh good. Tevesh is good. Do I need to bake in another strategy here? Okay, maybe I did something. Okay, let me do it. Boonweaver, I grab my Eldrazi Conscription, and oh, I have my Kaya's Ghost form in hand. So, ooh, combat step. I'll give Ardenn the Eldrazi Conscription. Main phase 2, I'm going to cast the Kaya's Ghost form on Boonweaver Giant. I'm going to eat it with Tevesh Svat. I'm going to find a different piece of equipment to just throw on the battlefield. A different aura. There you go. There's just one minor synergy. And then the bottom of it, there's nothing, it's everything I just said. I hope that's understood. Okay. Can't you mill yourself into where Kozilek will be your last... No. So just to avoid the confusion of that, I'm going to probably just nix Kozilek and say that we should just get there if we're going to try to get there. But Kozilek, yes, you can. But then people will complain about slow play because there's no way that you can, unless everyone lets you fast track it, you technically have to self-mill until Kozilek is in fact the last thing you are milling or the last thing in your deck. You can't just say, well, I'll do this infinitely until Kozilek is one of the bottom 3 or whatever you're doing to self-mill, right? You can't actually do that. If people let you do that, that's nice of them. But that's not how the game's supposed to function. You need to actually get to that state, which is slow play. So while yes, in theory, you can do that, it's not necessarily something that it's not as important as Kozilek is or any Eldrazi shuffler is to the game as a Gitrog deck would be, right? Like Gitrog really needs these to thrive. We don't really need them here. Again, it was sort of like a get out of jail free card. I hope that answers all the questions. Okay, so what I want to do is narrow this down to the general strategy, the general build. I think that we as a... Okay, here, let's stop looking at the cards. Heartwarming halftime. Self-mill, right? We need more to that package because Mesmeric Orb by itself isn't like really great value. And I would only really run Mesmeric Orb if I was running a Planar Void, a Leyline of the Void, a Rest in Peace kind of backup so that it actually makes sense. Because just giving graveyard stuff is generally bad, especially if there's red at the table, because then someone will be thriving with their Underworld Breach. So I don't like self-mill unless we're doing the self-mill thing then and there. It's tough to make that super viable, right? So we do need to find other self-mill strategies, and the only one I can think of really is like Grinding Station, Ashnod's Altar, Metallic Mimic, Lesser Masticore. Like that's a thing that you can do in these colors, and if there's any other self-mill strategy you can think of, I'd be happy to hear it. Obviously there's Grinding Station loops as well. I don't think the Grinding Station loops are good. There's really nothing sans Underworld Breach, right? At any rate, we can talk about those. So I think a self-mill strategy to get to the Boonweaver conclusion as Plan C, combat, remember, is important, but also just solidifying what the core card should be for this deck if that's the avenue of approach it's taking. I didn't really get a yay or nay from the audience, but that's what I want to do. So if Dragon Throne of Tarkir is something you want to do, say yes or no right now. Obviously, the cleaner line and the thing I'm probably going to want to aim for is like a Blasting Station play. I just want to end the game. I just want to win the game on the spot, right? And to be perfectly honest, Blasting Station with Thralls, there you go, added benefit. It's just creature removal at that point. Provided you had the Thrall bodies on field already, you can do up to 4 damage. Let's say you did the 2 Thrall. Tevesh can eat hits. People will aim at Tevesh. That's sort of the beauty of Tevesh. You need to play with that in mind because you can... Those bodies are super important. I feel like people undersell what the Thrall are actually there for. If you had a Blasting Station, though, you could eat a Thrall, make 2 Thralls, 2 more untapped triggers, eat another Thrall, and ping something for 3. And generally speaking, that's enough to kill most of the general threats in the world of cEDH. It's rare that you see a Linvala, but we don't really give a shit about Linvala anyways, or anything with 4 defense that's super vital or damning to our own strategy so far as hate bears are concerned. So Blasting Station is just good value in the deck when you're generating bodies. So... At any rate, okay, so I definitely want to just tune in with you guys, see how you feel about going the Dragon Throne approach, because again, I think that this is generally the most interesting way to build the deck. I think that Dragon Throne of Tarkir is a really king for a day. Like, I want Boonweaver to really do the thing, and it's only possible with this new aura. Like, when I saw this, I'm like, damn, this is exactly... Mantle of the Ancients, this is exactly everything I wanted in a Voltron build. I'm like, this sort of, it ties in separate strategies. It ties in the self-mill, it ties in the Voltron. It's like, you wanted to do that, you have this utility. It almost made me want to go Akiri just to have red, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. I think that Akiri providing Underworld Breach, giving us better lines of play for self-mill, makes this better. But Ardenn, by and large, for a Voltron strategy is a better general for the auto-equip. Tevesh is always going to be there, right? We want Tevesh for this. But I do think that you could sort of throw it either way. And obviously red adds more utilities than that. Dockside Extortionist is really sweet, obviously. Gamble's really sweet. But we're going to do Ardenn Tevesh today, and provided we enjoy this, maybe we can tweak this to an Akiri Line Slinger build, as we were mentioning earlier. But let me see. Yes, obviously yes. Baked Chocobo. I guess they probably would eat them. Yancy, I think your strat seems really fun. It sounds fun. I want it to do the thing. I want to see it work. So I'm excited to do this with you guys. Yes, Dragon Throne slow. Yeah, no, Dragon Throne is option 3, right? Again, it's attrition beats stacks, which is probably where we're generally gonna lie until we get to Plan C, Blasting Station. The Dragon Throne is, I mean, honestly, if we had the Eldrazi conscription out, because of, like I was mentioning earlier, like if we do the Kaya's Ghosties into Boonweaver, like, well, the first thing we do is Eldrazi conscription, and the next thing we do is the Dragon Throne, right? Like, or we couldn't fetch the Dragon Throne. We would need to find the Dragon Throne, like open the armory or something. But essentially, when you get this equipped to anything, you can have it share its potency with everything else. And this does work off turn, mind you. So, like, if you do need to think about having decent blockers, you can make really, really decent blockers. But obviously, the cost is a little high, so it's ultimately slow. I would say it's slow at 4 generic. Yes to Dragon Throne, yes to Dragon. It feels like Dragon Throne is the thing. Feels like Dragon Throne is more casual, not cEDH, but it would be fun. Let's see how it. So Sarah, yeah, that's. And if you guys can think of a better alternative, that's what my one issue with this general strategy was, that from all my research, I could not find a better way. Like, you can do Blade of Selves, something like Blade of Selves, right? Equipped creature is Myriad. When it attacks for each opponent, then the defending player, you may create a token that's a copy of that creature that's tapped and attacking that player. So the only issue with this is that it's just a token copy of Boonweaver Giant and nothing else. If it was Boonweaver Giant, in fact, just doing the thing. And this is cute, but these don't have the Mantle of the Ancients and every single thing equipped to them. So I'm like, well, this sucks, because Boonweaver Giant, its base stats aren't that great. So, like, how do we leverage something like Mantle of the Ancients to its fullest extent? And sadly, I'll say sadly because I wish there was a better option, Dragon's Throne is the best option. Is oddly the best option. So, you know, que sera. Like, you gotta take what you can get. And in these colors, Dragon Throne is the best option. Maybe there's a red artifact or aura that does better. Let me know, and that could be the Akiri thing. Or if there's one that will fit into Orzhov, let me know. But this is the only way we can go wide with Voltron that I've found. That's the only way. I say both. You're only adding 1 card to do it. Yeah, Dockside to reanimate after self-milling, and swap an Akiri to add red. Yeah, I think that there's definitely a case to be made for Akiri here as well. Mantle of Ancients turns you into Ural for a day. What about the Phyresis or Glistening Oil? Oh, I mean, for the poison damage? Do you mean the... Okay, so there's like the... What is it called? I know what the art is. I don't think that poison is an overly large concern. Like, we should be doing a lot of damage. I think we could sort of skip those general strategies here. But I like where your head's at. It is an alternative win, but again, there's not a great way to give everyone else the ability to poison everyone out. So, generally speaking, we just need to do a lot of damage. So I think at this point, we should probably just make some cuts and see where this deck lies currently. I think Dread Return is not my favorite reanimate spell, but it is there. I just want to add Praetor's Grasp because I know we're probably going to want it in. I'm not certain it's something that really stays. It might even be on my sideboard. Like, I might have cut Praetor's Grasp already. No? Apparently. Okay. So we need to consider what kind of stacks we're actually running. What does our early game look like? And obviously the total Voltron package, like what is the attrition battle we're fighting in the very beginning? And I think our land base is fine for now. I believe I've updated this with everything that would want, right? Like Urza Saga, great, cool. All this stuff. This is a land base that's set for a Tainted Pact. That just means we have 1 of every single land. And obviously, I think I've got like snow basics as well as regular basics. And if not, it would behoove us. Okay, so yeah, 29 lands. I don't think we have any MDFCs. 29 lands is generally the sweet spot. I only have one deck that runs 28, and that's Sithis, because she draws a lot of cards and her curve is really low. But another thing you can do with the Praetor's Grasp is if you just had the Tainted Pack in hand and you know you could pop off with it, it wouldn't hurt to just go for the Thassa's if you had the ability to make blue mana, right? That's also another win condition. So I think Karn is great here for stacks. Like, it's a Null Rod for our opponents. And the thing is, we can actually run Null Rod in this deck. Call me crazy, but we're not trying to pay the equipment cost of things. We could definitely use Ardenn to do that. So as a matter of fact, I actually want to go back and add Stony Silence and Null Rod. I think those would actually make sense. Obviously, those kill our fast mana, but it wouldn't. We're not trying to storm, right? So it wouldn't hurt to do that. I'll sideline the Stony Silence as well, and the Null Rod. We still need to cut cards, is why I'm doing this. But ultimately, like, once we've ramped out and done our thing, it would really benefit us to slow everyone down. Because once we land Tevesh and we've got, in general, enough mana to play out some cheaper, like Colossus Hammer is 1 CMC, and we're not trying to pay the activated cost. So provided we're able to cast these lesser cost equipments, we're in a good spot. And you can see a majority of everything is down here. So, all right, here, let's cut some things. Dread Return is fine. You still need to tap your throne. If you have infinite taps, just ping your opponents to death. You still need to tap the throne. Yeah, you do. You do. I don't know what you mean by ping them to death. We don't have like an untap artifact. We need to add Blasting Station. You're right. I do want to just add the Blasting Station to get that out of the way. I think that might be the only. I think that might be the only other win con for Boonweaver here. Okay. Don't you still need to pay 2 for Throne? You do, Victor. Again, this is a hypothetical setup. If you were able to self-mill yourself with Basalt Monolith and Mesmeric Orb, just bear in mind that Basalt Monolith generates 3 generic mana. So if you guys are concerned about, don't get your head in the weeds about how this is supposed to function. There are the cards to make that function as part of the strategy. So don't worry about it. And 2 generic is not difficult to produce. So I'm not too worried about tapping Dragon's Throne of Tarkir. And how do you tap it? Is something Lightning Greaves, Conqueror's Flail. It's gonna have all the shit on it, so it should be okay. I could be wrong, and I would love to be wrong. And then we can just steer towards something that's a clearer line of play. But let's move on. Yawgmoth's Will, fine. I don't know if Yawgmoth's Will is my favorite card here, but it will be fine. Sevinne's Reclamation is a great way to recover anything, especially in a self-mill kind of list. Again, the same strategy with Dread Return. You could just use Sevinne's Reclamation from your graveyard to put... Here's how this will work. How do you pay for Dragon's Throne? Flashback Sevinne's Reclamation. If all you had was 5 mana, you get back the Animate Dead, you get back a Mana Crypt. And then you'll be good, right? So I'm going to put the Dread Return off to the side for now. It's not my favorite reanimate spell. I would rather just put my money into Sevinne's Reclamation. And again, the only self-mill strategy we have right now is Basalt Monolith. So again, the 3 generic will go into Sevinne's Reclamation. You're too shy. So that's probably better than Dread Return. And obviously just having Reanimate in your hand, just having any animate spell in your hand is going to be the better route. Now, we've put Leyline of the Void in because of the Mesmeric Orb, and I do think that this is something that we certainly should... It's not a question of whether we should put it in. It's a must for the deck. I just hope we have it when we're doing the Mesmeric Orb thing. I have around a year and a half working towards Teysa Karlov as competitive possible. Would like to know your thoughts about adding more... I don't know if I can help with that right now, but if you want to put it on the Discord, I'm sure there are people willing to look at it. Let me see here. So, Ultimate Masters, Bloop, just trying to change the art so I can get a better look at everything. We want the redundancy of all these berry effects. And mind you, Boonweaver Giant is not a legendary creature, so Unmarked Grave will hit Boonweaver Giant as well. And if we just want to thin our list, we can put anything there for the Boonweaver Giant, right? There's only so... I don't know about Moonblessed Cleric here. We're probably going to cut that in a second. But so far as our sorcery speed spells are concerned, I think this is good. I like Scheming Symmetry a lot when you're playing Tevesh because you have the draw and command. So with Scheming Symmetry, give it to the person that's going to be playing last in this rotation because they're the least of your concern in this moment, unless they have some sort of draw effect, right? That is known. I would Scheming Symmetry for one of the 2 self-mill pieces, right? And then try to set that up for myself. All the rest of these are great. It's really just tutor, 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 reanimate. This is one of the best spells in the game. If you have the ability to slam Damn, you should. Not enough people run creature removal and not enough people run board wipes, and it's both. So if you're an Orzhov, definitely run it. These are both great, right? Lands we've looked at already. Akroma's Will is a little too cute. I think it's... I wanted to try to incorporate some of the stuff, like the splashy stuff that they so clearly were trying to jam down Voltron players' throats. It's not a very good spell, though, sadly. I like what it does. It does a lot, but I don't think it's doing enough, especially when our main goal is something else entirely. Deadly Rollic's fine. Obviously, Vanishing Reverse, this is good. Imps Mischief, we want the redirect for sure. Cabal Ritual is good. Apostle's Blessing is great because it protects your artifacts and creatures. We do have some relevant auras, but for the most part, we want to protect our bomb cards, right? So something like, to me, Lucille, it's a bomb card. You want to keep Lucille. Terrific Greatsword, it's a bomb card. We're generating angels, swinging at people. It's great. We want all these things, right? So we want to make sure we protect those and the creatures holding them. So something like Apostle's Blessing is absolutely necessary. Vampiric Tutor, Swords of Plowshare, these are all fine. I think you could probably make a case for one more creature removal spell, but again, the way Lucille operates, it's killing things anyways, right? And this is actually a priority item. We can actually also prioritize something like Sword of Fire and Ice, but I'm not sure that it's in the cards for this list. A little bit of recovery, one of the best pieces of protection in the game. If you don't own a Blacksmith skill, buy one. It's an excellent card. Absolutely love it. And this goes outside of white. It's just good protection. Generally, if you're in blue, you won't need this, but for everyone else, there's Blacksmith skill. We have some rituals here. This is just to get the ball rolling on Tevesh and or any other potent cards you might have. Enlightened Tutor, Faith Shield is just another form of protection. I'm not sure we need this much protection. I'll take the Rebuff the Wicked out. We do need to cut a handful more cards, so let's see here. Eldrazi Conscription's just a cute card, but I like it enough. I think that this Minion's Return is pretty gas, but I'm not certain it's fantastic. So what I like about this is that this is another thing that functionally works as a combo piece with Boonweaver Giant, but also you can flash this onto opposing creatures. And when that creature, if it's not their commander, right? When an enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So you can steal a value creature. Let's just say that you were playing in a creature-heavy meta and someone was playing a stacks list and had an Elish Norn. We brought her up earlier. You can, when they go to kill the Elish Norn, right, zap it with something, you can Minions Return that to get it back. Now, obviously, if the effect caused it to exile itself, it's not so good. I do like it, but I'm not sure how much mana we're going to have open available for that. And I do think that Deafening Silence, while it's great for stopping Storm, is probably something we're going to want to sideline. Like, that's not the kind of stacks we should be running. Aura of Silence is great for stunting the board. Leyline of the Void runs great with one of our main strategies, but Deafening Silence, we don't have that many creatures, right? So we probably need to get rid of this. It hurts to say. We're not going to be stacking out that much. We're hoping to just do damage, right? All right, I'm going to see what you guys are doing. Sometimes people look at Tevesh and they don't you win, so it looks bad for the cEDH goes. And just not looking at the stacks game. I meant like adding Alter Dementia while abusing ATB triggers. Viridian Longbow. Viridian Longbow. Viridian Longbow. Any Pokemon tie-ins here? Pokemon's tie-ins? I've seen this. Yeah, this creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. I think we can avoid Viridian Longbow. Are we running Dothy Voidwalker as a second leyline, evasive Voltron holder? Yes. So Dothy Voidwalker should be here. He's right there. He's right there. Right there. So far as enchantments are concerned, I think we're good with this setup. Dance of the Dead and Animate Dead are probably the only two we're going to use because we win at combat speed, which is to say sorcery speed. So Necro Mancy is not entirely important unless we're concerned about other reanimate strategies, which I'm generally not. It's just a more costly version of one of these two things, and personally speaking, we just want one of these two things. Now, Dance of the Dead makes it so that they come into play tapped. Am I mistaken? And chances graveyard and Dance of the Dead. Return enchanted creature to the battlefield is tapped. So what I want to do is just remove Dance of the Dead, I think, and then we don't have any other reanimate spells outside of Reanimate, Sevinne's Reclamation on Animate Dead and Animate Dead, right? That's probably enough. I would say that Shallow Grave is something you might want to consider, but this is more in a world where we were doing like an Akiri Tevesh build, then it would be good. And I only say that because there are better reanimate targets in that sort of strategy. Again, Dockside Extortionist is going to be a huge boon for something like that. Especially because all the artifacts you make, you can use with the Grinding Station prematurely, and maybe, just maybe, you have you hit that Sevinne's Reclamation, and then the excess treasures you can use to pull combo pieces out of your graveyard. Also, Tevesh can kill Dockside Extortionist. So, like, if you have the... Never mind. None of this matters. Like the Corpse Dance, the Shallow Grave. Those are instant speed reanimate spells. We don't have any of them here because they're not absolutely essential here. Again, this is Plan C doing the throne thing. I think that Eidolon of Rhetoric can go. I initially wanted to keep the stacks pieces that were Rule of Law effects in play, but I'm not certain we can keep those. I do think that they're essential because we're avoiding the taxing effects. We are avoiding the Rule of Law effects. So what are we really doing to stop Storm here? Not too much. I guess the Stony Silence would be good. This is stopping Storm. I like this because it's also simultaneously removal. It's costly, but it's one of the better ones in the game. That's the only tax we're using. Because I don't think there's any other tax that's only on opponents outside of like the Dragon Statue, the 6 CMC one, which we're probably not going to utilize. We are stopping their tutoring though, which is good. So we've got Aven and Opposition Agent. I'm going to try to keep as many creatures as possible because our strategy cares about it. But I do think we're probably going to have to nix at least one more here. I love Thalia Heretic Cathar. I think she's perfect for this list. Creatures non-basic lands your opponent's control enter the battlefields tapped. This just means that you're going to have that much easier a time getting over their defenders, right? So when they cast their Crom, you don't need to worry about it this turn because you can just still swing into them completely, carefree. I think Dark Confidant's fine, although I think that our CMC is maybe a little high for Dark Confidant. My qualm with Dark Confidant is that we don't necessarily need the draw. I could be wrong. I'll take Dark Confidant out for now. This is amazing stacks. This is good stacks, but again, like I said, we're getting rid of it. Serra's Ascendant is kind of a nonsensical card in my opinion. It's very shit late game. This is a very, very shitty card late game. So I'll take it out. I'm not really high on Serra's Ascendant unless it's like one of your early game plays. But then again, you should probably be mulliganing for a better hand. Serra's Ascendant isn't necessarily something you really want to hit, but it's something that's fun to do in a Voltron-based strategy. I think that this is probably the creature base we'll wind up with ultimately. Yes, there's still Arcana Memoria. Oh my god. Oh god, I gotta take you up. Sorry, bud. Okay. Now, this means we only have to cut 3 cards. So, Dragon Third of Cartier. Gotta run it, unless we can think of a better one. Mask of Memory is fine. I don't think we need that kind of card quality. The card draw effects that I want over Dark Confidant are things like Idol of Oblivion. Draw a card, activate only if you created a token this turn. Obviously, you generate tokens. Idol of Oblivion is really good in tandem with Tevesh Spot, but it's not an absolute essential. I only like it here because we are highly prioritizing making those Thrall. So generating the Thrall also means we get to draw on our turn, and I think that's a fair way to play. But also, like, I'm not certain it stays. I kind of like it over the Mask of Memory, personally. Although Mask of Memory is a good way to set up a reanimate strategy. So if you've never seen this, whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards if you do discard a card. So conceptually, you could set up your own reanimate target with this. My only issue with this is that this is after combat, clearly. So if you're going to set the Boonweaver Giant in your graveyard and just like announce to the world like, oh, I drew 2 cards and here's the Boonweaver Giant, I hope no one hits it, you know, maybe you're in a shit spot. Like that's when they tutor the Rest in Peace and you're like, dead. I'll probably get rid of that before I get rid of the Idol of Oblivion. This is one of my favorite draw utilities in the game, Tome of Legends. But basically it cares about aggro strategies, which we're utilizing. Skull Clamp's one of the best utilities in this deck because you are able to clamp your own thrall, but obviously any dorks on the battlefield, anything with a 1 defense, you can clamp those as well. I think Dark Confidant is like a 2/1, right? So any like opposing Dark Confidants, you just clamp them. Now we need to remove 2 more cards. So this is the tricky bit. Oh yeah, Voidwalker is way above Rest in Peace. Yes, Hamahimana, totally. Voidwalker over Rest in Peace whenever you can. Like, if you can make the Grave Hate asymmetrical, please do. And I mean just your opponents, right? So, yes, Dothi Voidwalker is amazing. And it's also just a body, which we care about, right? Persist is the new Reanimate spell. I think we could probably avoid that. I prefer the enchantment-based one and then Reanimate because of its low cost. And we don't care about our life as a resource, so I'm ill-concerned about doing Reanimate on Boonweaver, right? So it's probably the better option. Adnaw's Angel's Grace, this isn't a Storm list. If you're gonna do Adnaw's Angel's Grace, you should have a strategy devised for Adnaw's Angel's Grace. I don't want my cards in my hand, I want my cards in my grave. So there's not really a world where we wanna do that. But you can do that if you're an Orzhov and you want to do that. It just doesn't benefit the strategy. The strategy we're playing for is the opposite of that. But you can do that. This deck is super strange. Let me see. Bruh, why are you running Lucille? Why are you running Lucille? It's one of the best pieces of equipment in the game. It's one of the best pieces of equipment in the game. Tome of Legends doesn't seem necessary. I can agree that that some of these draw utilities can go. I think that Altar of Dementia was here as a self-mill strategy with Kaya's Ghost Form, Boonweaver Giant, Altar of Dementia, right? So this is one self-mill with Basalt. Forgot I even added that. Brilliant. I think that we can probably nix some of these draw utilities. And the Sunday's Dividing Top feels kind of weak here too. I'd rather just draw cards than look at them. But, I don't know. Is Urza Saga in there? I guess it is. If you want to look at the deck, you can just go to the link in the description. It's going to be in there. But yeah, Urza Saga is in there. We actually looked over lands earlier too. But yes, this deck is, if you've ever followed this channel and you're confused, and a little heartwarming halftime, I don't really follow convention with my list, and I happen to play a lot of cEDH. So I know what's out there. I know what people are doing. And if you are interested in building something generic or with a definite strategy that's been seen before, this is not the channel for you. If you want to explore different avenues of approach with obscure commander pairings that do different things, this is the channel for you. So that's the PSA for anyone who's here and is confused, and likely there's the exit sign is what I'm saying. Because this deck is definitely not going to be for you if you're trying to do something that is pre-established and is clearly more efficient than what we're running here. This is the best setup here, I think, is Altar of Dimension, Reanimate, Kai's Ghost Form off a Boonweaver Giant. And that setup is 3 mana. It's the same as Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation. It's just as good. It's 3 cards, right? And then you need X amount of mana to do the rest of the thing. X amount of mana being 2 more for the Dragon Throne of Tarkir. So it's actually not that bad. It's 5 mana total. I think that's pretty good for Orzhov. I mean, again, not every list can have a blue card that says win the game on it as a trigger. But yeah, Seraphic Greatsword, amazing. Guys, if you get your panties in a bunch because of Lucille, I understand that the same thing I mentioned earlier, like you could just proxy the card. Like if you don't want to own the actual card, just proxy the card. The one complaint I heard about Secret Lairs with the unique effects is that some regions couldn't get them. If you live in a region where you couldn't purchase the Secret Lair with Lucille, just proxy it. It's one of the best fucking equipments in the game. It's one of the best pieces of equipment in the game. Because whenever I attack, defending player sacrifices a creature. On the attack, they don't get to choose defenders. It just dies. This is amazing. Oh, and I create 2/2 zombies that care about the Dragon Throne. It's the best. You run it. You run it. It's one of the best pieces of equipment in the game. It also happens to have Menace, so they needed 2 blockers in the first place. Is it better than Terrific Greatsword? Tragically, yes. Why didn't they make this better? The issue with this is that player with the most life or tied for the most life. So if you have the most life, you just don't. You just don't. And the issue with Tevesh, if you've ever played a deck with Tevesh, is that generally people prioritize Tevesh. They'll prioritize Tevesh before your life total because they're very scared of it. It's obnoxious, but Terrific Greatsword I feel like is not going to pull enough weight. Early game it might, but I want to use it because it is generating bodies, and we care about bodies for the Dragon Throne of Tarkir, okay? So, 2 more cards to cut. I think that Tome of Legends... Okay, so Idol of Oblivion or Tome of Legends? What would you rather cut? Idol of Oblivion or Tome of Legends? Damping Sphere is the one thing that we're going to run to stop Storm. It's fine. It does stunt our Ancient Tomb. That's about it. But I think we can probably get rid of Sensei's Divining Top and probably get rid of one of these 2 things. So either Tome of Legends or Idol of Oblivion. Oh, Casey Cantu. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's weird. Guys, if you ever have a question, I'm a human being. You can just pose the question rationally and I'll get to it. Like if there's something that's confusing you or something that's odd to you, I will speak with you. So if there's ever something that you're concerned with, let me know and we can hash it out. But for the most part, this is just a game to me. And I'm going to play with everything that's at my disposal. And if it's obscure or controversial, it's just a game. That's the most important thing to remember. Everyone in the audience. Idol of Oblivion or Tome of Legends? Which one? Cut Sensei's Divining Top. Did cut Sensei's Divining Top? I agree there. We care more about just drawing the cards. So, but it's one of these 2 things. Is there Wand of Orcus? I know it doesn't seem amazingly strong, but it creates tokens. Keep Tome, get rid of Idol. I'm sort of leaning that way as well because we are closer to playing Ardenn and swinging with Ardenn than we are doing Tevesh with Idol. So yeah, I agree that. Okay, let's do that. Oh, well, Daffs, if you're confused, I just recommend going to the beginning. I did talk about the 3 general play lines here, but we're going to try to do it now, so you're probably going to see me illustrate it in a second. And for anyone watching this after the fact, give the video a good 24 hours to be able to read the comments. It doesn't pop up or populate immediately. You do need to give it a little bit of time. I think cutting the Idol of Oblivion feels better. I agree with both of you. I think Idol of Oblivion was the one to cut. Humana and Sarah, for sure. For sure. Keep Idol, get out of cut Tome in my opinion. What? Oh God, if I was on YouTube specifically, I would run a poll, but that's 2 for 2. That's 2 for 2. So let's just play test this as it is, and we'll see how bad a choice Tome of Legends was. How about that? Is this a good starting hand? I don't know about that. I wouldn't say this was a good starting hand, solely because... Well, I mean, you're looking at it. It's got Grim Monolith, but that's about it. If our top deck was really great, it might be keepable, but no, we're not going to keep that. Okay. Is this a good starting hand? I don't like having Boonweaver right there, but I do like it. Here, give me 1 second. Oh, God. Oh, darn it. Justin, I needed a card for a deck, and Justin just told me that he was selling his and I just bought it. Sorry, this is, wow, I'm interrupting the stream myself. I'm so sorry. Wand of Orcus is 3 mana, 3 to equip, gives your dude Death Touch, and creates a number of 2/2 zombies equal to the damage they deal. I like that, actually. I think the thing to check after we're done just testing this right quick would be to look up, oh, this is new. This is new. This is another new one. Blocks it and zombies you control gain Death Touch. Okay, so it has to, so it doesn't technically have Death Touch, but in all meaningful situations it does. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage, create a number that many. That's actually really good. And the art is insane. So, oh God, I kind of want it. I kind of want it. Is that a spinal cord? What? That's not a wand. That's not a wand. It's like a mace. Throw idol away. So 3 against idol. Oh, 3 against idol, 2 against tome. Okay, so let's keep this hand we just looked at and play with this and see what we can do. Okay, we'll draw a card. We'll do the Vault of Champions. I think that Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is probably not going to find much of a home here because most of our permanents don't have colored pips, but it was there as a thought. Like, I didn't know where this was going to go initially, obviously. Look at the sideboard of this deck right now. But if you want to test this deck while we go along, I certainly encourage you to check out the link in the description. I think Wand of Orcus sounds really good, and as a matter of fact, I actually want to look at other token generators because we want more bodies. If those things have relevant effects, like Menace, Trample, it would most likely be a green card if it had Trample. Flying, we're in white. If we generate tokens that have any value-added keywords, that would be amazing. So things like Wand of Orcus is actually really cool because of the Death Touch. It's almost a deterrent against blocks. If they're going to have to make the block, they will anyways. But at least you know you'll always be exchanging up on that trade. So very, very cool card. Thank you for the suggestion, by the way. Who suggested it? Who suggested it? Trev the Tree. Thank you. But no, it's fine. That's perfect. Thank you, Trev. Let's do this. What do we Chrome Mox the Boonweaver? We'll do Lotus Petal. We'll do Mana Vault. And then I think what we'll do is Chrome Mox. I know it's odd, but the Cabal Ritual, the temporary nature of Cabal Ritual makes me just want to make it a permanent black. Like, we'll get more, this will scale better. I would rather have the Conqueror's Flail, even if it means just throwing it onto a Thrall early game. And we do know that we have the mana for Ardenn in just a second. So we've got black here for the Cabal Ritual for Tevesh. We're going to generate a blue off the Lotus Petal. And we'll cast Tevesh. Okay, so we're going to generate 2 Thralls. 2 Thralls. And leave Tevesh at that. I'll use the poison counter because it goes up to 10, and 10 is likely where we're going to stop. Well, when we get to 10, we're going to reset, trust me. But we'll go up to 6. So Tevesh is at 6. I'll put him under the poison counter so we remember that. And so far as playtesting is concerned with damage like life loss, if this deck cared about Ad Nauseam or Necropotence or doing something like that, I would actually track our life. But for this scenario, because we don't really care about life loss in a way that's meaningful or impactful to our strategy, I'm not going to track life loss. So while there is a Mana Vault, going to ignore it. Okay. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. Oh my god. Man, I really got to tell you, I wish that we had the mana sufficient to do... I wish that was an Ancient Tomb, because we could do Ardenn and the Commander's Plate and smack something with a Thrall really hard. But here's what it's actually going to look like. We'll do, no. Because we got Tevesh on the battlefield so early, I think that it would benefit us to just go up 1, to sack one of these, may not, draw 2 cards. Do we get a better land? Okay. All right, Nykthos, and genuinely speaking, because of how this is lined up for us, it would probably be better to just hold on the Aven Mind Sensor and drop it than do anything else. You could make an argument for just getting Timna out here. You can make an argument for getting Ardenn out here. I'm ill-concerned with that. Whatever damage Tevesh is going to take from this point on, I'll probably just take it and leave the Thrall, because the Thrall is something that will pair well with Ardenn. If I don't get a land off the top, this will change our next play. But let's just say that we do this against someone's tutor, stop them from getting some benefit, and then move on. Okay. Yeah, we'll eat this other Thrall. Oh, I'm going to do a Verdant Catacombs for Scrubland, which is on top of my deck, which is great. Can you see the preview, by the way? Do you see that? Okay, you actually see these previews? All right, well, there's Scrubland. Now, what do we do? So the bird, Aven Mind Sensor, is able to swing right now, and it has flying. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mana available. we're going to do Ardenn, right? Boop, boop, boop. And then we are going to do the Commander's Plate. I'm fairly certain here that this is the setup. Yes, you can also do Tymna here and just swing with the bird and draw. I'm actually fairly okay where we are with our hand right now. As a matter of fact, when I put Tymna down, I would rather we have more attackers. That's really the benefit of Tymna in my mind. In most lists that you see run Tymna, if she's the only one attacking, it's just okay. But if I can have a protected flying bird swinging, this is even better. And what's brilliant about this is that this is a really great stacks piece for the list. So what we're gonna do is move to combat, I'll equip the bird, we'll swing at someone for some damage, and that'll be all, right? So it gets +3/+3 and has protection from colors not in your commander's color identity. And we're equipping it because of Ardenn's ability, right, at the beginning of combat. All right, next turn. Windswept Heath, baby. Okay, so the probability of us pulling into... So Ancient Tomb is really valid for this list. The probability of us pulling in an Ancient Tomb, or I believe I'm running City of Traders to generate 2 generic mana, is kind of unlikely off of draws. So I'm probably just going to play the Windswept Heath here to sort of like, what am I trying to say? Remove deck thinning. My God. I'm going to thin my deck with the Windswept Heath. Okay. Godless Shrine. Go for the Godless Shrine. Or shuffle, put that right there. So we've got options here. You can either do Conqueror's Flail because you're a coward, or here, I don't mean that. Or you can do Lucille and really just ease in on some people. So personally speaking, this is another turn where you just do this, right? Let's just pretend that Tevesh has taken 4 damage at this point. Or rather went down to 2 or whatever. Tevesh would be getting swung at. So there's no way that I would go +2 here and be at 10. So let's just pretend I went down to 2, I go back up to 4. Cool. Bird, Thrall. We're going to do Tymna, and then we're going to do Lucille. Because Lucille is absolutely batshit bananas crazy. And then we're going to move Lucille to Ardenn. So I almost just want to put it on the bird, because if I suspect that someone's gonna like Chain of Vapor the Ardenn, bleh, screw you, you're not gonna equip that thing. If I was worried about someone like trying to bounce or kill my bird or any of my creatures right now, the safest bet is to just pile on the stuff onto the one thing. And that way I can ensure that there's no way they're gonna target the Aven Mind Sensor without having to also go through the Commander's Plate, right? So we'll do this. And then we'll swing at the person that honestly has the best creature to eat right now. Like, I want Lucille, I want this to just kill things. It's a kill spell. It's a kill spell, it's +2 damage, it's just really good. It's generating bodies as well. Unfortunately, those bodies aren't tapped and attacking, but I mean, you can't really ask for the world here. So what we will do is swing Ardenn at some unsuspecting blue player that doesn't have any creatures on the board. Always the case. We'll swing this at the person that has the 1 creature, eat them up. We'll get a token out of the affair here. Boop, boop. I like how they're just zombie tokens. I like how they're just zombie, because they're technically walkers, but they're just zombie tokens. That's really cute. So we get a zombie, and we draw cards. So yeah, let's draw 2 cards. Cool. Now we're tapped out, but we do have a way to stop them from tutoring. I really hope that's enough to be tapped out right now, but our next turns are going to be pretty good. So let's do this. The Tome of Legends, it feels a little unnecessary now, but we did have a pretty fire start, so I'm not entirely certain that would be the case every game. What we do kind of want to start lining up for ourselves right now, though, is a scenario in which we win with either aggro and or we'll be winning with the Altar of Dementia into the Self-Mill, into the aggro, or Blasting Station, Boonweaver, Kai's Ghost Form. So the one thing that we can search up with Boonweaver is Kai's Ghost Form. We don't have a way necessarily to get to our Blasting Station. So what I think makes the most sense right now is to just Conqueror's Flail, equip it to maybe Tymna at this point, just so that maybe Tymna or a Thrall. This way the Thrall could do some damage. We might want to readjust where some of these items are. Unfortunately, at the beginning of your turn, you may attach any number of ores or equipment you control to target permanent or player. You can only choose 1 target for this, so we'll probably just put 1 Conqueror's Flail on 1 Thrall, right? So this can do damage. This is still a fine setup. We'll swing Aven Mind Sensor, wherever there's a blocker, we'll swing Aven Mind Sensor that way to just start clearing the field with Lucille. Like that's super, super important to us. But beyond doing the Conqueror's Flail setup, I actually will just crack this now and find a swamp. The other thing I want to do is just find a demonic tutor. So for me, I think that this is a very necessary Praetor's Grasp turn. And this is going to be a Praetor's Grasp if an opponent has a strategy that is utilizing Blasting Station and I'm conscious of that, I'll do that. Or I'll go for their own Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Vampiric, whatever, right? So for me, I'm thinking that would go for the player who hasn't utilized a Vampiric Tutor and I know would have a Vampiric Tutor. So now that we have the Conqueror's Flail equipped, we'll move to combat, swing here, swing here, swing here, swing here, swing here. Now, this is under the assumption that we can get all these attacks in. The way Tymna works, you get to draw cards off of the number of opponents that were dealt damage, right? So let a maximum of 3. Let's just say we get the maximum benefit of the doubt here. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Reanimate, Animate Dead, and Kai's Ghost Form. So what's nice is that Boonweaver can find this in our hand, but it's a little obnoxious that it's in our hand. We'll also just cast the Praetor's Grasp right now to find the Vampiric Tutor. Obviously, black, black, generic over here. And we're getting to the situation where Nykthos Shrine of Nyx would actually be okay, but it's fine. This will represent our Vampiric Tutor, which we can cast with our Vault of Champions later. So because we have Conqueror's Flail equipped, I think it just benefits us to get this out of the way now. Unless we feel like there's going to be some sort of... With as much draw as we've had, I would be wary of someone casting a Vampiric Tutor into my turn. Like if I saw this person's board, I would be very wary of that individual. So I think it would probably benefit us to just cast the Vampiric Tutor now, although I'll hold for it because that's logical. I also think it's just going to benefit us to do this and just keep making Thrall. Provided no one's been able to kill this dude, we'll just keep making Thrall. And hopefully at this point, like, the Lucille is going to swing at the person with the flyers, with the things that can do relevant damage to Tevesh, and just, oh, keep generating zombies. What am I doing? Sorry. There's another zombie too. Cool. So we got all these bodies now. But we're going to hold, do the Vampiric Tutor off turn, and I'll go ahead and grab our... It would be cool if Boonweaver and Kaya weren't in our hand because we could do like an Entomb, Reanimate, Boonweaver, but in this scenario, we just need the Blasting Station. Shuffle, 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 put that on top of our deck. And now I'll illustrate how we win the game. So, boop, boop, this is tapped. Again, we're losing life for that. It's okay. We have Blasting Station, Kaya's Ghost Form, and Boonweaver Giant. We need a lot of mana. That's the only issue here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my god. Okay, so we've got 6 manas. We really do just need to dump this Boonweaver Giant, don't we? It would be really great to just reanimate this. I don't think I have a way to... Don't I wish I left Mask of Memory in here? Don't I? I really do. So we need to find solutions here. So we're going to go... We're going to do that. I'm trying to think if I've got a way to generate mana. There's not a good way to generate mana with this setup here. Like, I can't find an aura or equipment that's going to help me generate mana. And again, because we don't have the Mask of Memory in here, I don't think we have another piece of equipment or aura that makes us rummage or loot. I really don't think we do. So we're just going to attack. Let's say the same scenario. We're going to move the we'll move the Commander's Plate at this point to the Tymna, because she is of relevance at this point. We'll keep going. If the Aven Mind Sensor dies at this point, let's just say that it did enough. We'll do here, here, here. We get the 3 damage in. Oh, a zombie died. It's okay. We get another zombie, and we also get to draw 3 cards. So 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. What we need is mana. But you can see where this is going. In a perfect world, because I want to take a look at the deck with you and also just chat with you for a second, what you would do is Entomb, Reanimate this dude, right? But here's the combo in a nutshell, provided we were able to get there. At the rate this is going, we're just going to Stonewall and just keep messing with them and doing damage and beating them to death. It doesn't help that we pulled all of our combo cards just right there and no fast mana, anything to help us. Cabal Ritual's gone, right? But Dark Ritual, and actually it's just Dark Ritual at this point. And Mana Crypts and Grim Monolith, and there's some stuff we could pull that would be really beneficial here. But we didn't pull it, and that's okay. But the basic combo is this. For anyone interested, this is one combo. There's also Altar of Dementia, but you want to reanimate Boonweaver Giant. So I think there's actually a case to be made to put Mask of Memory back in the deck, or just get to the point where you have 8 cards in hand where you discard down. Okay, I think that Mask of Memory is going to replace Tome of Legends. So I'm agreeing with both sides. We can remove both. But Boonweaver Giant comes in the battlefield. We also have Blasting Station now. What? How did I get to this scenario? I just want to illustrate it. Boonweaver Giant's going to see Kai's Ghost Form in her hand, equip it to itself. Blasting Station's going to see this enter the battlefield, and there's going to be an untap trigger. Before the untap resolves, we'll kill Boonweaver Giant to ping someone for 1 damage. No one can do anything because there's a Conqueror's Flail on the battlefield, right? And at this point, with as many threats as I'm posing, Conqueror's Flail is probably the least meaningful thing, especially if it's just a Voltron deck. I say just a Voltron deck. You're probably going to concern yourself with the things that are just annihilating your board state. So like Lucille, even Mind Sensor, those things are a bigger threat than Conqueror's Flail, and you'll do that off turn, right? So Blasting Station, Boonweaver Giant, dead. When Enchanted Permanent dies or is put in exile, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Oh, so Kai's Ghost Form goes away, Boonweaver comes back, sees Kai's Ghost Form, Blasting Station. And that's 1 win. And now let's look at the deck. So, I hope that illustration was good. I'm sorry. When it comes to playtesting, it's very much so talking at and less to. So at this point, I'd love to talk to you guys about the deck. It performed really well with that opening hand. Now again, that's not going to be the case for every game, but that was a very good scenario that just came up. So, we do Seraphic Greatsword, so it might be relevant. We do have Seraphic Greatsword, yeah. I think the Shrine of Nyx is not so good with all the colorless. Yeah, that's certainly something we talked about there. I think that this can probably go away. You could add something like Aghadir's Awakening instead, because Aghadir's Awakening actually pulls double use, and I don't mind having the flip side of this card on the battlefield. It's just an MDFC. We'll do that. We'll take out Nykthos and we'll put in Aghadir's Awakening. That seems fine to me. And that way we have black is the more relevant color to this deck, and we also just have a way to recur things from our graveyard. I mean, at best, those things are... I mean, honestly, I think Aghadir's will generally get one of these 4 things, and that's enough for me. So we'll do Aghadir's, and then we'll take out the Nykthos. And also, you could literally replace this with any land. Just make sure that it's a one-off, because we are on Tainted Pact still, and we can take that out of this. That's fine. I didn't like that. I also don't like Tome of Legends over the Mask of Memory. Oddly, Open the Armory really wanted to find Mask of Memory to dump the Boonweaver Giant so that we could just reanimate it instead. Because with Conqueror's Flail, you're in a really good spot, and I forgot that was in the deck, so you could just get away with murder, right? You can just get away with aggro. I think those are the major changes that I want to see. If there's any other changes that you want to see, let me know. But I think those are the changes that are going to make this list a little bit more competent in how it performs. You only ever need 1 to 2 things to have that sort of effect, right? Like the looting effect. I think that the 1 card with the looting effect is enough. I think Seraphic Greatsword is great because of its low CMC. And obviously we cheat the equip cost, but I'm still not super high on it as an effect. I think Basalt and Mesmeric are fine, but I would rather always go for Altar of Dementia. Despite us having a strategy that works with Leyline of the Void and Dothy Voidwalker with Mesmeric, I almost feel like we should cut Mesmeric, Basalt, Monolith, and add in more Rummage Loot utilities as well as stacks, some basic stacks effects. And that's probably something I'll do off camera, but does Sun Titan do almost the same thing? Not really. So Sun Titan, if you guys don't know, whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think the thing we're working with is 3. No, it's 5. It's definitely not. So Boonweaver Giant is just better than Sun Titan because Boonweaver Giant doesn't care where the item is, where that object is. So for Boonweaver, it's you search your graveyard, hand, and or a library. So in any scenario, Boonweaver Giant will find the thing, and it's 1 more mana to do that. So you can confidently say, no matter where my combo piece is or no matter what I want to find, I will find it and I will put it on the battlefield. right? And in this case, it's the things that are most important to us are these auras, right? But namely, Mantle of the Ancients, namely Kaya's Ghost Form. These are the two important ones for the deck. So it's a self-made combo ready to just pop off. And again, I think that Altar of Dementia is probably the route I want to go here instead. And I think that Basalt, while a piece of ramp is probably negligible, I don't think there's very much else by way of ramp, though, to include in this list that we're all, you know, we have Culling the Weak, we have Dark Ritual, we have all the rituals that we could feasibly put in here. There's nothing in white, so kind of a tricky situation here. But I like where this list is at. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the deck and I'm not showing you the deck. I just want to have that tete-a-tete before we continue. I think that the deck is in a really great spot, though, so far as what I want to do with it is concerned. I think the creature base here is great. I think the utilities for draw are great. Esper Sentinel scales with the deck because if you were to obviously use Ardenn to put something like Lucille or whatever that's buffing Esper Sentinel's attack power, the first non-creature spell they cast each turn where X is its power, Esper Sentinel just becomes like a Mystic Remora for this first non-creature spell every turn. It's very, very good. And obviously with Ardenn, it's an excellent pairing. But I do think that these two can be taken out, and I want to take a second to figure out what I would rather substitute them for. I think at this point it's maybe sort of Fire and Ice and like a Grafdigger's Cage, although Grafdigger's Cage does stunt us from our own Reanimate package, so probably not that. Not sure why I put that over there. Gotta find a substitute that's better. But Hushbringer? No, can't do that either. There's really, we're limited on the amount of stacks we can utilize because this cares about so many different fields of play. The ETB effect, the cost of our effects, and obviously casting more spells than one each turn. Outside of the Basalt Mesmeric, so maybe we do leave it. Anyway, let me see here. I think that's it for the deck, though. If there are any closing thoughts, let me know what you liked, what you disliked about the deck. Obviously, if there's a strategy that works reliably better than Dragon Throne of Tarkir. I know it's a little bit of a quirky card, but to be perfectly honest with you there, with how our board state was set up on, what, turn 6, we had a lot of creatures prior. If Dragon Throne of Tarkir was just on the battlefield, we could spread a lot of damage over just the base Thrall. Like, we didn't even need to do the ridiculous thing I wanted to do, which would be self-mill, reanimate Boonweaver, get the mantle back, get all the things back, and then tap the Dragon's Throne to do a lot of damage. Even if it was just out then, it would have been a mess of damage. So it's actually not it's not a bad card. I do think that maybe more rummage effects would be good. Obviously, having Boonweaver in hand is kind of the only issue, but what we could have prepared for and better played out was just getting our hand to 8 or more cards and just discarding Boonweaver Giant at that point. And if push comes to shove, if they, I don't know, they exile our graveyard, maybe we should consider a pull from Eternity or something like that. But I think that what I ultimately will do is maybe nix at least the Mesmeric Orb and or Basalt Monolith and add in some more removal pieces. It really depends on your meta when it comes to what you add in that, so it's not really worth talking about. Let's see here. I was away for a couple minutes. Did anything in the deck change? Just a land and just Tome of Legends for Mask of Memory. What's your favorite color in MTG? White. Was Wand of Orcus added? Oh, so why don't we take a gander at that really quick before I close this out. I do want to look at just some token generators. Wand of Orcus can be added though. I don't mind it. Create token. I would say that I would want to look at auras and I would want to look at equipment, and it could be both. Let's do this and this. There's not going to be that many, but I do want to organize these by mana value. Okay, we want to do it like every single time we do a thing, we want to do it. This is fine. I wouldn't say that that's lesser or worse than Wand of Orcus. I think Wand of Orcus at 3 CMC is just below these two, but I'm not that high on Seraphic Greatsword. Let me see this. Whenever a creature dies, put X. That's kind of cute. Murder Investigation? It's a little, it's a little defeatist. The thing is, we can trigger this, right? So if I did the thing, we don't have a way to haste enable, but if I did the thing where we did the pylon with Boonweaver Giant, we could use Tevesh to just trigger the Murder Investigation and get a mess of soldiers. But going wide in that sense is probably not as good. And as you saw, we can generate a lot of bodies. I want to generate a lot more though. So Wand of Orcus is probably high on the list here. Whenever this player's attack, no, I don't want to do a curse. Although we can sort of switch up where the curse is targeted. That's cute, I guess. This isn't good. Whatever attack, no, not the curse. Don't want to do that. Whenever enchanted creature dies, don't want to die. Knights with Vigilance. I do like a Sigiled Sword of Valeron. It doesn't really help us get in. Neither does Wand of Orcus, but blacks, in zombies you control gain Death Touch, so that's actually pretty solid, especially if we're on Lucille. So I don't mind Wand of Orcus. I think that's probably one of the better ones. Obviously, the Moon Silver Spear is really cute too, because you're generating, you are generating angels. They're not tapped or attacking, but you are generating angels there. I think we just go with Wand of Orcus and we do this. I think that I want to put Sword of Fire and Ice and Wand of Orcus in. I think that's the way I'm leaning towards. So some more token generation, obviously, with Wand, and then more destruction and draw with Sword of Fire and Ice. It also protects us against some pretty relevant colors, like blue and red are very relevant so far as removal or bounce is concerned. So I do think we go that route. We'll just add those 3 drops instead, and I'm probably happier with that. So this scenario looks a little bit better than me. So Fire and Ice, Wand of Orcus. And that's also just more fuel to the fire when it comes to the Boonweaver pile, because this is another +2/+2 to that situation, which is already insane. So, and just out of pure curiosity for everyone that's still here, if you're interested in seeing, I am interested to know like what the numbers actually look like. So if you do happen to do the thing, let's do the math together. So let's just give ourselves a situation where we actually do the thing, right? So we do Boonweaver Giant, right? We reanimate Boonweaver Giant after we've self-milled, right? Our library is in our graveyard. So let's do... Oh, no, there's not a clean way to do this. There's not a clean way to do this. Well, I just want to do the library in the graveyard and then find the Mantle of the Ancients, right? So this is the general strategy. I say general strategy. We're going to want all this stuff on the battlefield, right? I want to know what the numbers are. So we've got Kai's Ghost Form is going to be equipped. We've got Eldrazi Conscription, I still think. Oh, hell yes. Which is an excellent side strategy. We've got, we need to pull this up because I don't remember all these cards. I just want to know what the math is on the aura so that you guys know how much we're actually spreading when we do this build. And it's changed because we've added and removed some things. It's really just the auras that I'm going to need help with. I think it's just those 3, right? And Animate Dead. Technically, it's not a valid target, though. So it wouldn't work. But that's fine. So we'll do Commander's Plate, Colossus Hammer. We got that out. So Colossus Hammer. Okay, Colossus Hammer. We've got the Skull Clamp. Don't forget the Skull Clamp. And we've got Conqueror's Flail, Lucille, Seraphic Greatsword, Lightning Greaves. And one of these could obviously be trapped in our hands. We're just going to presume it's not. We're going to get the best out of this turn. Is Seraphic on the field already? Greatsword? Did I remove the Greatsword? Am I crazy? Oh, it's over there. Okay, cool. So, Lightning Greaves, Lucille, Conqueror's Flail. Mask of Memory. My god, there's so many cards. There's so many. Sword of Fire and Ice, Wand of Orcus, Dragon Throne. I think that's it, and if it's not, then we're just gonna ignore the rest. Okay, so here's how this shakes out. In case you're wondering how this deck wins elsewise, when we do the Entomb Reanimate after we've self-milled, the general goal is to get Boonweaver back on the battlefield with Mantle of the Ancients. And it'll return all auras and equipment from our graveyard to the battlefield. And we get +1/+1 for each aura and equipment. So, oh my god. Oh my god. And this is core. The ones that don't add damage I'm going to put over here just because I need to look at the relevant ones. This is adding damage. This is adding damage. Oh my god. This is not adding damage. This is not adding damage. This is adding damage. And then obviously Eldrazi Conscription is adding damage. So let's just see how much damage we can actually do if we manage to pull this off with everything equipped to Boonweaver Giant. And logically, you wouldn't have everything equipped to Boonweaver Giant. It would never work out in that way. But let's do some basic math here. Take some guesses, by the way. Put your answer. How much damage do you think that Dragon Throne of Tarkir is going to allow Boonweaver Giant to share with the rest of our squad? All the Thrall, all the Ardenn, all the Tymna. How much damage do you think is going to be spread with just this general layout? And again, this gets +1/+1 for every single aura and equipment attached to target creature. Okay? So, I'll do the math. Okay. 10 plus 2, right? 10 plus 2, okay. Plus 1 for each color. So at best it would be 2. Okay. Plus 2. All right. This is +1. 11. Okay, plus 2. Plus another 10, of course. And this is +3, right? Okay, +3. All the protection. Cool. All right. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Any guesses? How do you self-mill without... okay, so Victor, you're going to do this. See Kaya's ghost form over here? You see Kaya's ghost form? You're going to do it with this. So Blasting Station will kill the opponent's Altar of Dementia. Put the number of cards equal to sacrifice creature's power from the top of your library into your graveyard. Boonweaver Giant dies, mills 4 cards. Kai's Ghost Form says it comes back. Boonweaver Giant comes back, sees Kai's Ghost Form. Kai's Ghost Form enters the battlefield back onto Boonweaver Giant. Alter of Dementia to mill my graveyard, right? And then at a certain point, once you've self-milled everything, when Kai's Ghost Form brings Boonweaver Giant back for the last time, Victor, you'll just grab Mantle of Ancients from your graveyard. Does that make sense? It's the same thing as Blasting Station, except it's self-mill. Right? Okay, so how much damage do you think we're doing? I'm probably shoving Wand in my Killian deck, where it's going to be hard to block Killian. So, for anyone curious, with all of this artifact, equipment, and enchantment aura, Boonweaver Giant is a solid 50 power. So when we tap the Dragon Throne of Tarkir, Boonweaver Giant is going to spread 50-50 with trample among every single creature we control. That seems pretty good. And then obviously Ardenn will move the Eldrazi Conscription. Right, so like trigger on the stack for Ardenn. Give 50-50. Put Eldrazi Conscription on a Thrall. So it has Annihilator 2 and is a 60-61? A 60-61 Eldrazi Thrall with Annihilator 2. And double trample. So in total, it's 46, if I did my math correctly. And 46 plus 4 is 50 total. So not bad at all. Boonweaver, that does it though. That definitely closes this one out. I hope that this was enjoyable, enlightening, entertaining. If it was, I'll encourage you to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notifier, all that fun stuff. I never say this shit, but if you enjoy this channel and enjoy these live streams, well, guess what? Moving to the future, a lot more of this is going to be live stream based because it's far more enjoyable for me and far easier for me. So for my own mental health, that is what I'm going to be doing. But also it gives me an opportunity to test all this stuff out with you live. And this is exactly what I want to play. So expect to see it in paper? Expect to see this in paper. I think that this is kind of the build I want to go with. Yeah, this is pretty much the exact build I want to go with. I'm liking this a whole lot. But obviously, if there are other alternative ways to approach Voltron and Orzhov with Ardenn and Tevesh, let me know. I'd love to see your list. And of course, take this and do with it what you will. But as I do with all of these videos, I like to thank our most important members of the audience, you, the viewers today, and of course our patrons. Thank you guys so much for helping to support the channel. You guys make all of this possible. It's the only reason I get to take time out of my week to do any of this stuff. So thank you guys so much for supporting over on Patreon. And of course, to our YouTube members, we have a handful of members right now. Again, be on the lookout for changes to the Patreon and of course our YouTube membership program, because I will be altering how some of the rewards and benefits are divvied. But I'm loving this list. I think that Ardenn Tevesh is a great partner pairing. I think that if it would not hurt to go with a separate Akiri Lineslinger play, but it would only include more self-mill strategies, not necessarily a way to cheat on some of the stupid equipment we were rolling with in this particular list. So like, obviously Colossus Hammer, Lucille, a lot of this stuff is just out of the equation. So if you don't want to roll with those, then maybe Akiri Lineslinger makes more sense if you're just trying to do the Boonweaver thing. But you would need to incorporate enough aura and equipment to spread as much damage as you would be doing with Boonweaver. At any rate, my name's Patrick Marlett, and happy brewing, babies.